This is a live stream, and we're going to talk a little bit about Inoue versus Fulton. Yes, we will. So, for those of you who watched the fight, you would notice that Fulton came out in the fight very tentatively. Just pawing with the jab, something I saw Caleb Plant doing, and not really throwing out a jab to blind or anything. I think it's a jab more to gauge how far away he is from Inoue. And I got the feeling, and as the fight went along, he kind of settled down a little bit, but I got the feeling he didn't want to get hit by Inoue at all. And he wasn't even coming into his range, and using his jab. As you know, you can only dictate a fight by controlling both range and your opponent's jab by jabbing, right? Or at least using your lead hand, whichever lead hand that will be, to control your opponent. When you look at George Kambosos versus Maxie Hughes, for example, Kambosos was controlling the fight down the stretch. Maxie Hughes was reacting to Kambosos. Stephen Fulton was reacting to Naoya Inoue. He let Naoya Inoue dictate the fight. And he was too hesitant with his jab. He wasn't trying to do the battle of the jabs. He wasn't trying to engage Inoue in any kind of way. He just looked like he wanted to get away from him for most of the fight until he started to engage and try to push him back and walk him down. And that got me to thinking, the series of events that happened before Inoue faced Fulton, the wraps issue, and then the pack that was closed back, but it ended up being open, and then they tested the gloves and they found there was a lack of padding in the gloves. I think all of these things probably threw Fulton. I think he was prepared for that, a situation like that. And so going into the ring, I think those things were on his mind, and it affected his performance. And he let Inoue dictate. And let me say this. I'm not even saying that Inoue went into the ring with those gloves. But I'm saying it messed with Fulton's mind. Because I've never seen Fulton go into any fight that tentative, afraid to throw his jab. This guy throws his jab. He's not tentative at all. And I believe that gave Inoue the advantage, and Inoue was able to establish his jab and dictate. And his speed and everything, every other factor helped him to sort of control the fight somewhat. Fulton was coming back into the fight. He was starting to throw shots. He was starting to land. He was using his defense. He was on his deep quite well for the greater portion of the fight. But he knew he hit him with a shot that busted his nose. And I'm thinking to myself, I know what's going through Fulton's mind right now. He's like, the fix is in. I just walked into a trap, So that's probably what's going through his mind. Whether that's true or not. So I think mentally, Fulton was thrown for a loop. And I think that, and he must have felt the power of Inoue on his arms, and he realized, oh yeah, this is for real. This stuff that I went through is for real. And he probably was thinking about his health and all of that. So Inoue basically dictated. He was first. He landed body shots. Now, Fulton didn't really affect Inoue either. Fulton did land a couple overhand rights. And Inoue would come right back at him. And this was his chance to counterpunch Inoue or to space it out. I noticed Fulton started to fight Inoue at Inoue's range. So he abandoned fighting from a distance. He never really got an opportunity. Once or twice, he got an opportunity to throw some body shots on the inside. So, more or less, he wasn't doing the things he was supposed to do. He was doing everything he wasn't supposed to do. It was like things, I could tell he was mentally thrown for a loop with the incident that happened before. I think his trainer, in a way, was unprepared for what was going to happen, one. And two, kind of had Fulton thinking about stuff he should have probably not been thinking about. He should have been focused on the fight and at the task at hand. And his trainer should have been looking out for his back, but not necessarily bringing these things to his attention, because the last thing that was brought to their attention, something they more than likely couldn't change, which was the gloves. And so this is on Fulton's mind, where he should really be just focused on the fight, because it doesn't matter what kind of gloves the guy has. There are certain things you just have to do in boxing. And once you do those things, it doesn't really matter. So Fulton ended up in a toe-to-toe kind of thing, and he knew he caught him with an overhand right and a left hook. Now, Fulton did go down. His hand did touch the canvas, and he knew he still threw a left hook after he touched the canvas. And the ref said nothing about that. So you could tell the fix was in, okay? Because Stephen Fulton's hand touched the canvas. The referee was supposed to jump in between them and stop the fight right there. No, stop the thing and give Fulton a standing 8 count. He knew after his hand touched the canvas, he knew he still leaped at him and threw a left hook. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. Boxing's a dirty, dirty sport. So I don't pass it past Japan. They did it with Floyd. They tried to do a fix on Floyd as well. I don't pass it past them to, one, remove padding from gloves. Two, from what I saw with the hand wraps, Inoue was wrapping those hands so that he can get some more hardness in the knuckle area. Okay, that was the purpose of it. It was what you saw is what you saw. And what you saw with the gloves is what you saw with the gloves. Yeah, that's a reality. Boxing's dirty like that. But I do think mentally Fulton wasn't all there in this fight. It wasn't that Inoue was too fast for him. It's that he wasn't controlling Inoue's jabbing hand with his jab. He wasn't. Again, I tell y'all, Kambosos is a different level of fighter. Okay, go watch Kambosos again versus Mr. Hughes, Maxie Hughes. And you'll see Kambosos using his lead hand to control Maxie Hughes and keep his lead hand at home, which is what Stephen Fulton was supposed to be doing with Inoue. You know, not just trading hard jabs, but keeping the dude from actually jabbing, from actually throwing his jabbing hand. And for that, you have to inch in until you get within range. Even if he was tentative early, but keeping a certain distance that now he knew he had to lunge in and then check hook him and spin out, you know. So you have him reaching for you all the time and you check hook and spin out. Just a half step back and a pivot, you know. Would have gotten Fulton in better. But you could see Fulton was thrown. He was thrown. He wasn't boxing the way how he should have boxed. And I think that was because he's out of his element. I think he was thrown mentally. He got thrown off of that fight because there's a lot of things Fulton usually do. And he didn't do that fight. He did everything wrong that you could possibly do wrong. And don't tell me that I knew he wasn't that much faster than him. To be honest with you, he knew he wasn't that fast. Fulton was up to the task. He knew he wasn't hitting him like that. Fulton was blocking a lot of the shots. He's getting out of the way a lot of shots. Okay. So it wasn't like Inoue was, as they say, dominating him. He was keeping his defense pretty tight. But he began to do a lot of wrong things. He wasn't moving forward. He wasn't, and I think he was afraid that he would fall into a trap. So he was trying to feint and shift head slots and stuff and come towards Inoue. But really and truly, all he really needed to do was pump his jab. Right? Stay behind your jab. let him try and counter over the jab and stuff, and then it'll set up a counter for you. You're a counter puncher, so you expect him to try to counter the jab, and when he does, you come back with a counter. And all it takes is a half step back, a slight pivot. But I guess he was thrown out of his element because this is not. I've never seen Fulton so tentative to want to face an opponent. Maybe it's because, and he has faced punchers. He faced, Brandon Figueroa. He faced Adam Lopez. He's faced punchers. He's been put down by punchers too. So I'm not sure what happened with Stephen Fulton in this fight, but I do believe the events before he went into this fight played on his mind. And once he got into the fight, that was what was dominating his mind. And while he was doing quite well in terms of defense in the fight, until he decided to kind of go toe-to-toe, settle down, start pushing Inoue back, start landing his punches, he was starting to settle down. He wasn't settled coming into this fight. He was unsettled. Kind of like Billy Joe Saunders versus Canelo. By the time Billy Joe Saunders catches up to it, it's too late because Canelo landed so many body shots. And it's the same thing with Inoue. Inoue invested into Fulton's body, and obviously Inoue's hitting very, 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 very hard. It's probably like concrete hitting Fulton. And Fulton's not aware that the fight's going away from him. When his trainer says, now go ahead and dog this guy, Fulton starts to try to make it happen. He's starting to settle down into the fight. But before he could really settle into the fight's over. You know what I mean? Well, he was way behind because he knew he was winning a lot of rounds. So, like I said, now Inoue is pound for pound the #1 fighter in the world at present. By the end of this week, we'll have a new pound for pound. But here's the thing I think that we should all keep in mind. By the way, you can donate to this channel via PayPal. I'll try and put the link after the stream. One of the things you got to keep in mind is this. That if Errol Spence wins this fight against Terrence Crawford, he's going to be neck and neck with Naoya Inoue, mainly because he's of a bigger weight class and he's faced still top tier competition nonstop. Not to say that Inoue hasn't, and definitely Fulton qualifies Inoue. That win is exactly pound for pound status kind of stuff. So Inoue's at the pound for pound #1 spot, no doubt about it. He is. He's been on the pound for pound list for a good while. And this is remarkable that he even was able to pull this off and beat Stephen Fulton, right? So no matter what, he's pound for pound #1 right now. But by the end of this week, we will, unless they get a draw, have a new pound for pound #1 fighter. Now, if it's Terrence Crawford, he gonna be pound for pound #1, and there's no neck and neck there because Terrence Crawford would have become a 2-time undisputed champion, and he would be head and shoulders ahead of everybody. Inoue, he just became unified WBC and WBO champion at super bantamweight, and quite frankly, I don't see anybody beating Inoue at super bantamweight. He can dominate it, and if Eddie Hearn wants to sacrifice his unified champion and have Inoue run through him, then so be it. And he can be undisputed there. But Inoue has really no competition until you get up to, I guess, lightweight. So if he decides to go up into featherweight and dominate that, go up to super featherweight and dominate that, I think he can do it. Because there's nobody in those divisions. Fulton's an exceptional fighter, and y'all are going to see that. His career is not anywhere near over. He's an exceptional fighter. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. His will to win is like nobody's business, So Inoue's win over Fulton in the manner that he won, by stoppage, and even outboxing Fulton, because he outboxed Fulton. These are facts. Doesn't matter if I like Fulton or not. These are facts. We don't talk. We're not about favoritism. This is facts. He outboxed Fulton. That's pound for pound status. That showed that Fulton had to respect his power, and I think that's the major thing why Fulton was so tentative. He had to respect his power, and it showed. Inoue can box, and he got the victory. So now Inoue This is his fourth divisional title against the number one super bantamweight in his prime, skilled, slick, you know, defensively responsible fighter. He just defeated. Um, and so you have to give him his props. I'm not going to even try and pretend like I'm not going to give him his props. I was wrong about it. You know, I told you guys to bet on Fulton. I was so sure that Fulton was going to win this fight. But there's no way Fulton was going to win this fight the way how he fought. It just wasn't going to, you know, he was trying, but he was doing everything wrong, you know, as far as I'm concerned. He was fighting at the wrong range. He wasn't using his jab or his lead hand appropriately to try and control his opponent's lead hand. You know, and then sometimes he would, it was very tentative with his jab, and that was the major problem. He wasn't first. He didn't set the tone for the fight. You know, when Mayweather fought Pacquiao, he dictated immediately with his lead hand, and he came with some heat as well to let his opponent know, hey, if you step in here, you're going to have to pay to cover that distance. Fulton didn't do anything like that, and when he was deep in the pocket, he was doing some work, but he wasn't controlling Inoue. I thought he was going to body check him. I thought he was going to frame him. I thought he was going to clinch him, wrap him, and turn him. He didn't do none of those things on the inside. In fact, it looked like Inoue was a little bit stronger at certain points in time than him. So that was very interesting as well. So, I mean, you know, it just went wrong for him. And I think it mentally went wrong for him with the glove issue and with the wraps issue. I'm not saying that these are legitimate concerns or anything like that. I'm just saying the fighter should have been spared that. The you know, trainer or the team around him should have been handling that, and the fighter shouldn't have had to think about that stuff. He should have just been thinking about the fight that he had to face. So it is what it is. Hopefully they learn for the future. Inoue is the dude, man. He's the dude. And he showed it again. He proved me wrong, and he proved a lot of people wrong. But you know, it's boxing. I have no problem with being wrong once it's the truth. Anyway, I am what you need. Oh, yes. So if Terrence Crawford wins, he's pound for pound number one by a leap and a mile because of the fact that he'd be a two-time world champion. Su Young Lee July said Naoya cheated, wraps were plastered. Yeah, and also the gloves, the missed padding. But you know, boxing's a dirty business. You know how it is. You know how it is. See you alone. That's why Fulton was. That's why Fulton was so tentative. You all know that. We all know that. We saw it. We saw that they opened up the pack for the gloves, and then they checked the gloves, and there was no padding in the gloves, and they just let it go. That's boxing. Y'all know that. T-Bud should plaster up too. Oh, man. Listen, this is what I was I'm going to say this. Skills pay the bills. He knew he got skills, no doubt about it. The guy got skills. He's pound for pound number one. You know, I'm not going to say he cheated because I don't have any. I mean, I saw what I saw, but I don't know if he wore the gloves that they said was missing the padding. You know what I mean? And again, these are just, you see, what we don't understand is all of this is involved in boxing. Sometimes that guy would deliberately get his gloves open up and look like his gloves are tampered just to get in your head, just to get you out the game. and you know, throw you off and then come with something else. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just mind games being played so they can get an advantage before the fight even begins. You know, and Fulton probably never had to experience that, so it was like a new thing for him. That's boxing, I'm telling you guys. It's boxing. Boxing's a tricky sport, man. Su Young Lee July says fight in the U.S. and now we talking. Well, man, sometimes you got to go all over the world. Devin Haney went across to Cambosa's place. Fulton said he was going to do the same. Only till Pac-Man fought in the U.S. did people respect him. Let me tell you something, Su Young Lee July. Truth be told, Excuses are excuses. The man won. He won, and he won well. And we could talk about all kinds of things. The fact is, it's over. And it's just a learning experience for Fulton, and he'll come out better for it. He'll come out better for it. He's a very good fighter. It's just he got thrown for a loop. Happens with boxing. I don't think Norway knew he's going to have a fight at lightweight. That would be his 7th weight class. That's too far up. Rigo's too old, man. No, it would knock him out. Under the conditions that he has in Japan, he definitely would stop him. See, this is easier said than done. But Fulton, if he had popped his jab and he'd used touch jabs, right? If he had used his touch jabs on Inoue, he could have kept his hands at home. Kept his jabbing hand at home. Inoue felt that Fulton didn't have no power, so he was trying to walk through him. But you gotta keep those guys all balanced and at bay. And it's all about timing. It's not so much about speed. Inoue got speed and timing, don't get it wrong. But Fulton defensively was hanging with him. The problem was he wasn't putting in any offense. He was afraid to throw offense, and he needed to. That's how he would control Inoue. He was also trying to get inside the pocket against Inoue. That's why he's throwing those overhand rights and then clinching. I don't think Fulton has a rematch. I don't think there's a rematch clause. Fulton knows what to do. He was just afraid. I tell you, he just tentative. He was afraid to engage. He let Inoue dictate. See Long Lee July says, I just DM Fulton to watch the stream so he can rematch thanks to you. See Young Lee July says, he cheating because he used karate punches, not boxing. Y'all so funny, man. He beat him fair and square, man. Well, not fair and square, but he beat him. Oh, man. And Fulton's I'm telling y'all, man, Fulton's a really good fighter. He's above the rest. So kudos to Inoue. However he did it. However y'all want to think about it. He did it. Sometimes a fight is won outside the ring before it even happens inside. You know what I mean? He got to Fulton's head. He got in his head. Yep. Got in his head. Some people will say generically, the moment was too big for Fulton. It wasn't that the moment was too big. You all know what it was, but that's boxing. That's boxing. I mean, shout out to Fulton, though. Shout out to Fulton for going across to Japan, wanting to face the best, wanting to challenge himself. Shout out to him on that. You know what I mean? It is what it is, man. That's boxing. I knew he was the better man that night. The mental as well as the physical is a part of boxing. You know what I mean? I seriously thought Fulton was going to take him. And Donaire even corroborated what I said. You got to fight Inouye on the inside, deep in the pocket, or on the outside. You go fighting that boy at middle range, where both of you could hit each other. He going to smoke your ass. Nicholas Walters, nah. This one was more tactical. This was higher level chess. Loma smoked Walters. Walters quit. Fulton didn't quit. He knew he caught him in no man's land, boy. My boy was in no man's land. He got caught. He got caught with an overhand right from hell. Dropped to the ground. Was getting back up, and he knew he hit him with a left hook. Yeah. It's all good, man. You serious? LeBron's son, truly? He got a heart attack in practice? You serious, or are you just joking? That's crazy. Damn. Twitter is now called X Corp. Like Lex Corp from BVS. Cool beans. Ice Cube was right. Yeah, man. He was. Hey, don't forget to smash that like button. I'm going to catch you guys later. What you need getting out of here. Yeah, the same with Jamie Foxx. That's right. Jamie Foxx was in trouble too. And they say it's the vaccine. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm going to catch you guys later. I am what you need. See you, Long Lee July. I'm going to catch you later, man. Or Julie.